I am going on air live now, about 15 minutes prior to game time, so that I can go ahead and make sure everything's cool and hopefully get some recruiting done, because at this point, no one's actually signed up. That's all right. People are, it was a new idea, just launched a couple of days ago, really mostly yesterday. And I know I keep looking down, but the reason I'm looking down is I'm just sort of like checking the screen to make sure everything's like what it should be and stuff. And live recording for broadcast is kind of those weird things. You should be paying direct attention to the camera at all times, but then you want to look and see all the stuff going on the screen, which that's how that is. So anyway, yeah, I am prepared to run for up to 4 players, and I even have the link to send out to folks so they can pop on as essentially co-hosts. And that way, with camera and microphone, they can pop in and be live as players in this game. So now I'm just going to go ahead and get the word out to folks. Our demo of P&PUE. So hopefully some folks out there will be interested in playing with us. This is a new idea. I don't know that anyone's ever quite done this before. A whole series of 1-hour demos, live and online, that people can pop in and join and play. Apex and Killer Robots in Pinnacle City. Come play a live demo with me right now on Kickstarter. So I don't multitask well, so typing while talking, kind of hard for me. I apologize for that. But I'm just trying to get the word out to folks so that maybe someone will join in and come play with me. Come along and play with me. What the heck am I looking at right now? Wow. That's just, it's an image of a woman with not even a chainmail bikini, literally steel cups on her boobs. It's a cartoon. And it looks like she's biting her own underarm pit. I don't know. This is really weird. It's a really bizarre cartoon that I'm seeing. I'm on G+ right now. G+ is going away, but it's still active right now. So I'm, just, that is some real interesting stuff I just saw. Oh, wait, sorry. That's not what I want to do. Share link. I am just getting this out there. Come play with me. Come play a game with me. Not sure what else I can do. Putting the word out. People come play a game. We'll hope that somebody decides they want to come play. I'm going to go ahead and broadcast this. Coffee. All right, my coffee, my water. All right. I think I've done about all I can do. So we'll see if anyone's going to come play. So right now it doesn't look like anybody's on, but that's okay. It hasn't actually technically started yet. But anyway, for those who for some reason don't know what I'm talking about or what's going on here, and they've just tuned in for the very first time, this is Evil Beagle Games Kickstarter for Prowlers and Paragons Ultimate Edition. This is a superhero game that I am deeply, deeply in love with and very proud to be a co-designer of. Len Pimentel, Vice President of Evil Beagle Games, President of Lakeside Games, one of the most brilliant game designers I have ever encountered and worked with, is the main creator and designer. He designed the original Prowlers and Paragons, which a lot of people really love and enjoy. It ended up on quite a few top 5 and top 10 lists for superhero games. This game is a massive teardown and rebuild of that original system. That one was a little beer and pretzel-y, a little bit, with a heavy emphasis on narrative gameplay. We maintained that emphasis on narrative gameplay, like a whole hell of a lot. This is, we like to call it the perfect fusion of classic and modern game design. You do not have to play this as a narrative, player-empowered game kind of thing. You can play entirely traditional and classic. The rules are baked right in there for that kind of experience. At the same time, you totally can. And what's best about it is you can do both. For the players who really love the concept of immersive, player-empowered narrative input, the rules allow you to do that, while at the same time somebody else who's much more of a traditionalist can play their style and they do not conflict in any way, shape, or form. And you can even choose, scene to scene. It's like, go ahead and describe it for me. Or nope, I want to take the narrative and describe it. Both of those styles are equally valid and equally playable at the game. It's an incredibly simple and intuitive basic game system, but the depth of it in terms of what you can create and what you can play and the maneuvers you can do and the things you can try, it's solid. The crunch is there. It's very easy, tasty crunch that's not like deep and drowning. Frankly, the description that I and some others use is that what Savage Worlds is to GURPS, Prowlers and Paragons would be to Champions. Now, that's to not say anything bad about either GURPS or Champions. In fact, those are both fantastic games, groundbreaking, incredibly important to the games industry and the hobby. And people who play those games and enjoy those games have an enormous amount of fun. I've got friends who still love running and playing Champions. I was the Champions high priest hero, the guru kind of guy. And that system, along with a lot of other great games, had a massive influence on P&PUE. But the modern thinking is much more along the lines of, let's get something that's a little bit more intuitive, a little bit easier for new players to dive into. If we're trying to bring people over from Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, they want to try some superhero gaming, we want to give them something that they can just grab and go. So, for example, if a character has a 12-die energy blast in this game, they pick up and roll 12d6, 12 six-sided dice, and then they just count all the even dice. Each even die counts as a success. Sixes count double. That's it. That's the core game. If you know how to do that, if you can do that, you can play this game. Everything else flows right off of that, and very easily and intuitively so. For those of you who are more architects and engineers with your character building and your gameplay, the rules will let you delve and dive deep. But for those of you who's like, man, I just want to run up and hit it or blast it or whatever, you can do that too. And both styles are totally valid, and both will be satisfying experiences. So as a, kind of a quick little intro kind of thing while we wait for official start and to see if anybody's actually going to come and play today. So I'm just going to check on Facebook to see if I've got anybody who's wanted to join in or has sent me anything. Okay, we add that one to the timeline. I'll go ahead and add it to the timeline. And add that one to the timeline. All right, so I just had to check. There's all this stuff that Facebook makes you check before it'll actually show up and whatever. But I'm just checking to see if there's anybody out there who has said in other places that they are inclined to come and join us. That's a completely separate thing, and I can't repeat that. Okay, so there's this really cool thing on Facebook, and that's not actually what I was laughing at, but there's this other cool thing on Facebook that Michael Walsh, one of our supporters, has showed us. It's got a beautiful photoshopped image of John Wick from the John Wick movies, Keanu Reeves, in an Avengers, basically what I would call the microverse suit. If I'm understanding what they're going to be doing, they're going to jump into the microverse and do some stuff. And he's got that special like white and cool trim outfit on. And it's a meme basically, and it says purple alien snaps fingers, dog disappears, John Wick Endgame. So yeah, that could be interesting. I mean, John Wick's going to need some really big guns, I would say, to pull that off. But, and that was one of the things that came up. I recently did a go live that was all about what can I make? And there was a whole thing about, John Wick as a superhero. Now, there's two ways to approach that. Like, you make John Wick exactly as you imagine him in the movie, and then you realize that he's not necessarily going to be able to fight Superman or whatever. Or what happens if John Wick is a paranormal in a superhero world, even if he's like a low-power paranormal? That's how I'd build him, just so that he was a little bit more Nick Fury-esque in his ability to, dance with the superhero types. So I would actually allow John to have like 7s and 8s and maybe even 9 dice and a couple of things here and there. Just to kind of put him in the ballpark where he could really do some amazing stuff. But he'd be an amazing character to play in any action-adventure game. And quite frankly, P&PUE is a superhero game, but it is an action-adventure superhero game. It can absolutely support people playing all kinds of things. So, we are playing a game right now called Well of the Worlds that Michael Serbrook, Chief Operations Officer of the Evil Beagles, running, where he started out as 6 dice max characters, and then we've gotten up to about 8 dice really, and but we're very low powered, what would be called street level in some cases, but or heroic level, and it's an incredibly satisfying game experience. It's a lot of fun, and we're really enjoying that. Whereas in another game that I'm running, Storm Knights, Modern God Storm Knights, there's 18 die cap. So this is the cosmic, oh my God, blow it out game. So both of those are very satisfying. We have people here. Rich Brown, Lawrence-Allison, Michael E., Mark Morgan, there's Corinne, a few others. What I would like to know is if any of you who are in the chat would like to play today. If so, please pop up actually put it in the Q&A section specifically so I don't lose it. And then I can give you the link that will specifically allow you to set your camera and your microphone up so that you can dive in and be one of our players today for our game. And at this point, since I don't have anybody, anyone is welcome. All I need you to do is make sure you grab the freebie Quickstart rules, and I'll go ahead and put a link for that in the chat just to make it nice and convenient. You want to grab that, and if you hit that link, you can grab that, download it for free, totally free, In fact, I think I've got a way I can like pin this. The free P&PUE Quickstart rules. So if you go and grab that, it's sitting right there on the front page. You go and grab that. It's got the 4 pre-gen characters in it, which is going to be Vigilant, Alabama Slammer, Citizen Soldier, and TK. And you can pick one of those characters and play that character in the demo that I'm going to run. All I need is people with a good internet connection, a microphone, and a camera. And then I will give you a specific link. I will send it to you directly. That will allow you to come in as a co-host, basically. And then your camera will be, we'll do the split screen thing, and then we will have you play. No audio. Are you saying you cannot hear me, or are you saying you do not have the ability to do audio? That's what I'm asking, Mr. Brown. Because if there's no audio of me, that is a problem. And that would be a frustrating problem at that. Let me actually go somewhere else so I can check to see if I am having there's a problem with me. Okay, so yes, I can tell that I do in fact have audio. So yes, there is a somewhere on the screen on the main Kickstarter page, there is a thing that says audio muted. And if you click on that, usually it's in the upper left, but it depends on what browser you're using and other stuff like that. But yes, so I just checked. The audio is absolutely working on my end. So no question about the fact that it is functioning on that end. So thank you, Mark Morgan, for sharing that. I'm going to and cool trim outfit on. And it's a meme, basically, and it says, no question about the fact that it is functioning on that end. So thank you, Mark. So yeah, I've also got this running as a Facebook Live rebroadcast. So that means I need to actually be paying attention to that slightly as well, which I will try to do so. I'll put that over here on the other screen so I can kind of look over and check on things while I'm over here. So Matthew Brown, I don't know which screen you're looking at, but if you are looking at the main Kickstarter page, this is broadcasting live there. And there is a thing that it automatically mutes when you come in. But if you actually move your mouse around on that screen, you should get well, actually, I mean, it's already there. I'm literally physically, my eyeballs are staring at where the thing would be on your screen right now. I'm like, let's see if I can, nope, wrong way. Right there. If you were looking at the Kickstarter main page, my finger's wiggling on where your little, the thing that looks like a speaker would be, and you would click on that and it would unmute your audio. And then down at the bottom, there's, of course, a speaker thing that you can do the slider on. Reload the page. That's all I know to tell you, dude. I apologize sincerely. I am not an expert on what your setup is or how it is. I just know that I'm telling you all the things I know to tell you. And if you're looking at it, there should be a way. So just click on lots of things on your screen until you find the thing that lets you turn your sound on. I'm saying that and you can't hear me. So it's really ridiculous. It's kind of dense on my part. So click on all the things on your screen. There has to be a speaker icon somewhere on there that you can activate. The page, maybe. So, I don't know what else to tell him. Matthew, I swear to God, I don't know what else to tell you. Reload the page. Reload the page. that's all I got. So is there anyone, because I know the sound's working. I've tested it. People have told me, I'm broadcasting, people are receiving sound. So I don't know what else I can tell Matthew. If anybody else has got any ideas, that would be really awesome. But let's see what we've got. I've got somebody, Gregory S. James. There's Jan. Once again, I appreciate all of you guys are here, but yeah, so I am broadcasting. I am broadcasting it to my Sean Patrick Fannin Facebook page in case that works better for you. But the thing is, I don't have anybody to. Sorry, just getting something. See if there's somebody else that wanted to come play. But we're here hanging out, and I'm good with that. And I'll just do what I normally do here, which is dancing monkey, talking about the game, woo, that kind of thing. But I'm really hoping that some of you, or at least one of you, would log in and act as a co-host player so that I could actually run a legitimate demo of this game. I recognize most people are either at work, so they can't do that because they're at work, but they still want to watch, or they are, have family stuff going on, or their tech setup just isn't whatever. And if that's the case, that's the case. I'm not angry. I just, what this was scheduled for was so that one or more people could come on and play a character live while I run a demo for you, because that's what this is about, to kind of show off the game. So it could just be that this was too soon. That we just really put the word out about this yesterday, and maybe it was just too soon for people to plan accordingly. Just like what I'm doing is I'm literally, I know I'm doing that thing where we're looking at our phones, but I'm actually looking to see if there's anybody saying, "Hey, Sean, I want to come in, I want to play." That's what's going on. I've got people reaching out to me about characters they want to build. So somebody who's wanting to play a game that I'm going to run for them on Monday. So I need to go ahead and hook them up with latest rules, because I'm running it. There's a thing called Monday Night Savages we do here in Denver. Actually, it's up in Broomfield, north of Denver. And it is just a gaming thing that we do every Monday. A couple of games usually going on. 12D cap. So a friend of mine, David Forby, wanted to recreate a character. I've got a bunch of pre-gens, but he actually wants to make his own character. So I'm sending him the rules that he can play with. I'm telling you 125 points and 12 decap. So boom, just like that. That's what he needs to know. He has 125 points to spend. He can't have anything higher than 12 dice. Now he's just going to dive in and make a character. And it's going to be very easy because character building is a thing. Lynn Pimentel, as a matter of fact, did a rather awesome video about making characters. And in fact, while I'm sitting here talking to you guys, I'm going to go ahead and post that in for y'all to take a look at. Lens character creation tutorial. So that URL will take you to another live cast that we did for a while, and Len was the lead guy on that one. And that's where Len did a whole bunch of character creation tutorials to show people how to do this thing, how to make characters for this game. Meanwhile, like I said, I'm back over here and looking at questions going on in the Facebook. It is. So Michael Walsh was asking over in the Facebook thing. He was asking about the Quickstart rules, how complete they are. And I said, they're pretty freaking complete. They've got like everything going on in those rules. except character creation. That's the only thing that's not in there. So that's what you would need the main book for. It has 4 pre-gens, but it has everything you need to grab those 4 pre-gens and play. Smart folks are going to be able to kind of reverse engineer some ideas. There's, that would not really be hard if you just want to grab the Quickstart and see about, kind of tinkering, saying, I'm going to take that character and I'm going to, change a couple of things. But really, I mean, we're doing the Kickstarter so that we can publish a book that you guys will buy, and then we can eat and, feed our dogs and put gas in car and things like that, So we were grateful if you can, but you will know this game by taking a look at those Quickstart rules and playing with them. I mean, that will be a thing. So speaking of a thing, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I try to wear like a different hat all the time. I've got a ridiculous collection of hats. At some point, I'm going to have to kind of cycle back in because, I will eventually run out of hats. But I'm going to wear each of the hats that I have once before I start wearing the same other ones over again, because that's another Kickstarter tradition. I started that back in for the Shine Tar Kickstarter. Every time I did go lives or broadcasts, I would wear a different hat because, well, I like hats. It is 1:12, and we've had no one volunteer to play in this demo thing that I wanted to do, for which I am sorry, because I know that's what people wanted to see today. So the sorry, just checking on something else. I would that's what today was about. Today, this thing was launched so that people could pop in, and it is there we go. That's just me checking in with the play in this demo thing that I wanted to do. So sorry. So yes, Michael, they are. So anyway, Michael was also asking if the 4 pre-gens were based on the 125.12D cap standard. So that is a standard, typical classic superhero game. You would imagine, that would be early Avengers. I hate to say second string Justice League, but kind of sort of second string Justice League, not counting the icons. X-Men at their solid level. The solid X-Men level 12 dice. These are very powerful characters. 12 dice is nothing to sneeze at. That is a very, very solid, powerful character. So, for example, somebody with 12 dice of might is going to regularly be able to pick up 100 tons. 100 tons, right? That's a thing. So that's 12 dice. 12 dice super speed or 12 dice of running. Let me find the thing to explain that one. Let me find it. There's a section for that. And it's meant to be inherently abstract. And then when you want the specifics, a 12 dice speed means you are running at 10,000 miles per hour. With a 12 dice of super speed or 12 dice of running or 12 dice flight, you're flying at 10,000 miles an hour. So those are very powerful, solid, oh my gosh, characters. And that's the standard. For GMs who are looking more for a Netflix era Marvel game, you're probably talking 9 or 10 dice. Luke Cage, I would say call that a 9-die game where Luke Cage is probably going to have armor of 9 die. Definitely Daredevil's going to have 9 dice agility and 9 dice martial arts. Jessica Drew is going to have 9 dice might. Maybe even give her 10 dice might. I don't know. Just so she has that one thing that she's like, oh gosh. So on and so forth. So that's going to be a slightly lower campaign level. Whereas Justice League in the current incarnation that I've been reading in the comics, they're probably 15 dice characters at least. It could be argued Superman's probably closer to an 18 die level. Again, just redonkulous, as they like to say. So that kind of thing. And so there's. there's different levels that this game can work at, and it's a lot of fun. So while we're just kind of hanging out, since that's what we're doing right now, does anybody who is watching either in the Kickstarter live feed or in the Facebook live feed have any other questions? Gregory Scott James. Oh, so yeah, thanks. I appreciate with the good luck there, Gregory. I appreciate you. Wish you could have joined us over here to play. But, I say over here because I'm pointing at the screen that I have the Kickstarter thing on. Can you raise edge with points, or is that a static number based off other stats? So, there would be no point in specifically spending points on edge, Michael Walsh. The way you would do that is you raise your agility. Perception is your default, right? So it's really kind of cool. Perception, your awareness of what's going around you, is one of your core edge stats. So raising your perception would affect it. If your agility is higher than your intellect, then raising your agility would be the other way to go. You may as well spend the point on agility rather than just spending the point on edge. And if you went the intellect route, I'm perceptive and I'm smart, and that's how come I have a high edge, then you would raise your intellect. The other thing that you can do to jack your edge up is there's straight up a thing called lightning reflexes, and that is a power you can buy that straight up just goes boom +6 on top of your edge. So those are the ways that you would raise your edge, but there's not a separate power for that. There is super speed, which I think, if I remember correctly, it's 3 times your super speed rank is your edge at that point, because, well, you're just ridiculously fast. Edge, by the way, is your initiative, and typically in most games you're going to have it where it's just going to be static, so it's nice and fast, right? First, fastest edge gets to go first, and then we go through, down to the lowest edge. After that, with minions don't even have edge, they just go last. If there's ever a tie between a hero and a villain, the hero gets to go first. If there's a tie between 2 heroes, then you go to whichever of them has the highest perception or whatever, or they just can negotiate. Like, you'll tell you what, you just go ahead and go first. There's just different ways you can do that. If you want, however, the random effect, if you want the push-pull, not certain what's going to happen, and I do this for like big battles and important battles in my games, I have everybody roll their edge, which can be really funny when like the super speedster's got 30-something dice, has to like find, the player has to find 30-something dice to roll. Usually what they'll do is about half of them they'll declare, I'm just going to do auto success, because that is, of course, the thing you can do in this game. Auto success means for every 2 dice you don't roll, you just get a success. So if I've got like 34 dice of edge, or 34 edge because I'm a super speedster, I'll go ahead and take my 10 auto successes for 20 of those dice, and then I'll roll the other 14 dice to see what else I get. That's still probably going to give me a pretty decent result. Or I can just take the 17 and say, there, that's what I'm going. But everybody else can roll, and they might get a bunch of 6s, because 6s count double, remember, and they might get to go a lot faster than they normally would. That's always the time. That's always the reason why you would roll instead of not rolling, because you can auto success any roll. Anytime you want to roll, or anytime you want to have a challenge where you don't want to roll and leave it to random chance, you, as Len calls it, take the average, and you just take 1 success for every 2 dice that you don't roll, and you can go on. But you don't have the chance for rolling 6s, so you don't have that chance for like the extraordinary successes. So it's a tactical and strategic kind of decision there. So that edge does get to determine when you go and that kind of thing. However, I will point out that you can always spend a resolve to just jump the order. Did that very recently in the Well of the Worlds game, where my character felt like my character really needed to go first no matter what was going on. So as soon as we all generated our edge results, because we rolled, I went ahead and spent my resolve and jumped to the very top of the order and went then, because Garda, the character I was playing, had to go first for that page. And then if somebody else wanted to also spend, then we'd have to compare edge from there. So that's straight up. So basically, you can run your initiative very champion style. High dex to low dex is how that used to work in champions. Or you can do it random, and both are valid. Donnie Arnold's on. Good to see you, brother. And I want to say, I'm looking again, because basically we're broadcasting to 2 places, and I'm having to sort of pay attention to 2 screens. You're broadcasting straight to the Facebook page, or straight to the Kickstarter page, but it's rebroadcasting over to the Facebook page. So now I'm having to kind of pay attention. And again, I would have loved to have had some people on for the demoing, and that didn't happen. At this point, 121, I would be able to like run a really quick something if somebody wanted to jump in and be a character. I'm still looking for that, by the way. If anybody wants to come to the Kickstarter page, because you're going to have to be on the Kickstarter page. Use the QA thing and say, hey, I would like to play. I'll send you a link. You'll go ahead and jump in as a co-host, and we'll set something up. It may not be the full demo I'd originally planned, but we'll run you through an encounter of some kind, so you can kind of just roll some dice and see how it goes, because that's what this is for. So if there's anybody who would like to help me show this game off, I am ready. I'm looking for someone to do that, because I've got 15 people now watching on the Kickstarter page. And if any of you people who are in the people that I'm looking at, Mark Morgan, Rob Fitch, Danny Atwood, I see either Jeff Arbo or Michael Knight of Spyglass Games. Hi, guys. Love to see you guys. Bill Keys. Hey, dude, if you want to help me show something off how this works, I'd love for you to help me. And it says there's 8 more, but I can't see who it is. But if anybody wants to pop in, drop a note in the QA part of the thing that will let me know that you would like to play, and I will then use that to give you the link so that you can come in as a co-host with camera, microphone, and then grab one of the pre-gen characters and play. The folks who are currently watching over here off to my right on Facebook, unfortunately, you'd have to come over to the other thing to do that. What would classic 1960s Superman dice cap be? Oh, geez. If we're talking the one that could move the moon around, he's probably in the 20 to 24 dice at least. That's back when he was like strong enough to pick a car up, but it kind of looked like he was struggling, but then he would turn around and move the moon because what? It was always about whatever the writers wanted. But the typical examples of just the ridiculous overpowered Superman, minimum 20 dice, probably closer to like 24 dice kind of thing. It's easier for me to say if someone wants to say, well, here's the biggest thing I remember that he picked up, and then I can look it up and tell you, that, okay, it was probably this die level then. So going back to the might chart, just to kind of give people a sense of that kind of thing. So at, say, 15 dice, character can regularly pick up a kiloton. At 20 dice 6, 50 kilotons. At 24 dice, 1 megaton. And then, and you can just extend it from there. That's as high as the chart goes, just because at that point, whatever. But you can, the scale is easy to flow. So if a GM really needs to know what 30 dice or 40 or 50 dice does, it's basic math. I could figure it out right now, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do math live online even more than I have to. That was a slightly creepy statement, Mark. Thanks. Appreciate that. Thanks for making things a little bit awkward. All right, so you know what? At this point, it's coming up on 1:30, and I do not have any volunteers to actually play the game with me, which is sad making. So I will just have to kind of talk it through a little bit and show you guys what would happen. Say, for example, if TK, which is one of the pre-gen characters in the Quickstart rules, found herself battling a bunch of killer robots in the streets of Pinnacle City. So in this case, we're going to say there's 3 killer robots. The stats for the killer robots are right here. They have an edge of 8 and a health of 6, although in this case they're foes. Because they're foes, they're only going to have a health of 3. You cut the health rating in half for foes because they're easy to go through. Killer robots have an agility of 2D. They're kind of awkward. They're not like completely clumsy, but they're not superhumanly capable. And they're low human average. They're not really bright. They're kind of like automated remote control things. Intellect of 2D, might of 60, so they're pretty strong. They could tip a small car over. Perception 60 because good senses. Toughness 60 because, well, they're tough. And not much of a willpower, just 2D. Their powers, they have armor of 60, a blast energy, Zorch of 8D, communication 60, so they can like plug into communication systems and receive word, whatever. They are inanimate, so they're not alive. They're immune to things like poison and things that would affect living organic things. And they have night vision. They have the flaws of emotionless, which means they have no emotions, nothing to appeal to, and they cannot sense what life is. And repair, meaning they cannot be healed. They would have to be fixed by somebody. So we're going to say there's 3 of those bad boys stomping around. Apex has released them into the streets and causing all kinds of damage. He's testing out his robot army that he wishes to unleash for his purposes. TK is first on the scene. TK, of course, you might imagine, is a telekinetic. So she arrives and sees these guys. They have an edge of 8. Her edge is also 8, so they would be tied. However, she's a hero, so she will still get to go first. So the first thing she's going to do, she has force field area 12D. So it has the pro area, so she can create a large dome-like or circle-like whatever. So she's going to encapsulate these guys. It says right here, TK can project a force field that grants protected characters 12D passive defense against physical and energy attacks and makes them immune to attacks with a rank of 6 dice or less. If she wishes, she can make the force field large enough to shield everything within a close range of her. In this case, however, she's going to do it, and in the inverse, she's going to use it basically to ensnare these guys. She's going to put a dome over them to try to contain these robots. So that is her action. She goes, clump, here's my area force field of 12 dice. And the robots are now trapped inside of it, and it's going to be their turn. Now, I'm currently using TK's sheet on a screen, and I've only got 2 screens. So give me a second while I go over and check to see if, make sure I'm not missing anything over on the Facebook side of things. Michael Walsh, I'm going to stick to the schedule. So, I would love to have you join in anytime. So, I think the next one, is when is the next one? The next one is March 26th on Tuesday. So, make sure if you're available, please to join in for that one, because that would be great. All right. So, let's see if anybody else is. Jack's Hollingsworth. Hey, Jack, good to see you. Rebecca, everyone, good to see you guys over there. So I'm just checking to make sure I'm not missing anything. So we got to the point where TK flew in and looked at these robots and said, that's enough out of you. You guys just need to stop causing all this trouble. Now, the robots quickly analyze the situation. And of course, they're stupid because of 2D intellect. However, because they have the communications ability, and Apex is clearly in the background watching what's going on and testing them, he will in fact make sure that they understand that what they're going to need to do is kind of team up on this force wall to make sure that they can get out of it. So they're going to coordinate their blasts to try to break this force field. Now they have 8 die blasts. So it is technically possible. If their blasts were 6 dice or less, even if they teamed up, there's no way they could get out. It would be the same as if like a bunch of people took 45 caliber pistols and shot at an M1 Abrams tank. Just because they're all shooting at the same time, they still couldn't hurt the tank. That's the same situation here. But they do have 8 dice blast. So they're going to use what is called the teamwork maneuver. And teamwork means they will wait to the end of the page, which is very easy in this case because they were going last anyway, and there's nobody else in the fight. So they all wait to the end, and then they team up. And by teaming up, each of them gets 10 dice because you get plus 2 dice. If you team up and you wait and do teamwork, everybody gets plus 2 dice in their attack. And if they want, they could spend, in this case, it would be adversity instead of resolve. Adversity is what I get to spend instead of the players to make their 6s explode. So they're also going to go all out. Now, all out is another maneuver that you can do, and that gives you an additional plus 2 dice, but it does cut your defenses in half. So we're going to go ahead and roll 12 dice to represent one of the killer robots blasting this force wall. And what I'm doing is I'm rolling the dice, and I am counting evens. I rolled really, really well. I am currently pulling out a whole bunch of even dice. So TK may be in some serious trouble here. 2, 4. So I got these really cool dice that David Forby and Kim Myers-Forby made for us. So they've got the P&PUE logo. Those are the 6s on this. So that's because those are 6s. They each count for 2 successes each. So it becomes 4 by itself. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So The first robot rolled 12 successes. Now TK, her force field is 12 dice, so she's just going to roll that. And we'll see how well she can maintain concentration to hold that up. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be good at all, unfortunately. So, yeah, she only rolled 5 successes. So, you know, they all teamed up, so they all went. So the scene, the narrative scene would be Kazat, you know, they all 3 blasted as hard as they could, and she, like, you know, because it's the force of her will, she kind of staggers back, and it kind of gives her a slight headache as the force wall completely shreds. But that was their action. So they're done, and so she gets to go again, and we come back around, and the other power that she has is telekinesis, also area. TK is a very powerful character. By the way, she's flying right now because she can use her telekinetic ability to fly. So TK is a staggeringly powerful telekinetic who can lift up to 100 tons with her mind. She can use this power to perform attacks and active defenses against physical attacks, as well as to grab, lift, and otherwise manipulate objects at up to distant range. So because she has the area ability, she can go after all 3 of these robots at once because they were contained in an area. So the way she's gonna describe this is that she's gonna take her telekinetic force and then just kind of grab them all and smash them together in one, you know, attack. So what's going to happen here is she's going to roll her 12 dice again. So we're going to go ahead and roll. And as always, gamers, you know, we throw our dice on the floor. So she'll roll her 12 dice. That's another couple of 6s. 2, 4. Oh, there's another one. 2, 4, 6. But everything else was odd. Ouch! Like all 1s and 5s aside from those. So TK normally has 3 resolve. She's going to spend one of those resolve to re-roll that roll because that was just not what she wanted. So she's going to go ahead and go all in because she wants to protect the city. She's the only one there against them at this point. So she's going to re-roll. Oh, that was ugly. That was even worse. You know, so she'll get to stay on the best roll she had. And the best roll she had was 8. I had 3 6s, a 2, and a 4. So 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. So it would have been 8 successes. There's less. The second one was bad. So she's been resolved, but it was even worse. So she gets to keep her best resolve. Now I roll for the killer robots. The killer robots have armor 6D and agility 2D. So armor 6D would be their passive defense because they just kind of take it, whereas 2D would be their active defense. So they're going to take their best defense. In this case. And also active defense, unfortunately, you only get half ranks unless you give up your next action versus area effect attacks anyway. So they're going to use their armor. However, because they went all out, they only get half of their armor. So instead of the 6D, they only get to roll 3D to represent that they were totally exposed by going all out. So she had 8 successes. The first one rolls 3 successes. So 8 minus 3 is 5. They only have 3 health. That one is smashed. The second one rolled 4 successes, but that's still not enough to keep it from being smashed to bits. And the last one rolls, 2 successes. So she showed up on the scene and wrapped them up in a bubble. They teamed up to blast that bubble into smithereens, but then she grabbed all 3 of them, kaplang, and smashes them into bits. So you've got now Apex created killer robot pieces laying on the floor. However, a whole horde of smaller killer robots come streaming down the street. These would be minions, by the way. Looks like there's like 40 of them. Things just made out of all kinds of pieces of junk and given some sort of weird sentience, like drones that have been given extra whatever, and they've been coming in as minions. Fortunately for her, that's when Citizen Soldier, Vigilant, and Alabama Slammer show up on the scene and say, hey, need some help? And well, if we had players playing, I'd run that scene. But we're just going to let that stand as a dramatic pause in the story. But that at least I took a few minutes there to kind of just show you the basics of combat, right? The push-pull. She had an action she wanted to take. She decided to use her area effect telekinesis to wrap the robots up. They got to use a cool maneuver called teamwork. And they also went all out so that they could make sure they could smash through it. but then it was her turn and she used her area effect telekinesis. And again, there was any number of ways she could have done that, but because of the way this game works, she was allowed to describe it as, I'm using area telekinetics to just grab them and smash them together. Totally works, totally cool, creative way. She could have done any number of things. She could have, grabbed a car and smashed them with the car. She could have lifted them all up into the air and caused them to fall to the ground. Any number of ways that she wanted to describe that would all still have worked as an area effect attack against a whole group of killer robots. Because they were foes, they were slightly easier to affect, and so she was able to take them out pretty quickly. So that would have just been a really great opening scene in the comic book. And then, like I said, I'd have this horde of minions coming in as these smaller robots are attacking, which, by the way, is inspired by a scene out of a webcomic I'm reading right now called Delta Dawn, where this guy has technopath powers, and he's just like building these weird doggo robot type things with machine guns on them. So, but then I would have the other 3 pre-gen characters show up, and then we would continue running that, and it would be a minion battle where they're like, every time you do hit a point of damage, it's basically a minion goes down. And then at some point, they would have to face off with Apex himself. So, that's straight up classic comic book fun. So looking back over at the Facebook place, Donnie Arnold saying, my next character creation will be Dr. Hoshasan, a nuclear-powered villain that mutates his victims into anthropomorphic rabbit people. So the victims are volunteers we employs and gives firearms. These followers are known as gun bunnies. Ouch, Donnie. Ouch, you're making my brain hurt. Oh, that does sound like a lot of fun. Actually, God, that would be a great villain for a Mystery Men type game. Let's see. Are you going to post all the character stats you used today on the Facebook page? Well, I mean, the pre-gens, of course, are in the Quickstart. As far as the killer robots, yeah, I'll post those up. Apex, yeah, I'll share Apex's stats. Why not? Yeah, we can do that. That's a good idea. So when I get done on the Prowlers and Paragons Ultimate Edition Facebook page, so an exclusive for people following the P&PUE page on Facebook, I will post the killer robot stats, and I will post Apex's stats. No, actually, I'm not going to post Apex's stats. You didn't fight Apex. Well, nobody fought Apex. But I will post the killer robot stats. And if people show up and play, then the stats of whatever it is they've went up against, I will share at least one of the characters involved in one of the things when we play. So today, like I said, I'll post the killer robot stats. The killer robot stats are basically in a section of the core rules for just basic, basic archetype enemy things that people could encounter and fight, just as a quick, grab and go kind of thing for gaming. And Len's put a whole bunch of them. Like the one page I'm looking at right now, there's a standard demon, a standard killer robot, lost world native, and ninja. Right? So ninja. Why did it have to be ninjas? So there's also a high-tech ninja type too. Oh, God, and the Burrow Bunnies. Yeah, Donnie's just going a little berserk over there on the Facebook page. And for the Arctic Minions, those would be... okay, we're not going to talk to them anymore. The Facebook people are being bad. They've gone off on bunny puns and weird bunny names for different types of bunny-themed bad guys. So they're bad, and we should shun them because they're doing bad things over there. I'm just saying, over here on the Kickstarter main page, we're good people. We're not making bad bunny puns. I love all of you for that, so no problem. Over there on the Facebook feed, they're being very bad. And Fine will hop over. Mark Morgan, don't you, Mark, because he's on both. That's the problem. He's on both. He's a spy. He's a dirty spy for the Facebook bad people, and he's over here on the Kickstarter good people page, and now he's going to make them come over. And we're not all bad. You are David Forby. You are a participant. You're guilty by association. Guilty by leaders in the Bunny Legion, Jackrabbit, Jackalope. Donnie's just gone crazy. Someone please help Donnie. Stop him before he creates another bunny thing again. And it's not even Bill Keys. It's freaking Donnie. Bill Keys, by the way, our director of operations and our art director for Evil Beagle Games, and is also the creator of the Blood and Justice Shadows of Nocturne setting that we would like to publish at some point. He's also known as the Evil Bunny. And so his whole thing is bunny stuff. So he's going to love this when he sees it later, I'm sure. Oh, thank you, Mr. James. I appreciate the kindness. Like I said, it was just a real quick kind of show off. I hate doing it that way. I'd rather players be able to engage directly with the experience. And I'm really hoping that the rest of the scheduled demos, we will have at least one or more players to participate so that we have a more interactive experience with some narrative and some play. But at the very least, just kind of give you guys a sense of just how fast and quick the game is. I mean, it really is. But the thing is, it's fast and quick without being too rules light, if you understand my meaning there. This is the kind of thing that's kind of like for those who've been gaming a long time. There's been the classic, very math heavy games of the old days, because that's where we come from. Was the war games and simulations and things like that, and you had the really elaborate and involved systems, and they were amazing for those of us who were really into it. That was a thing. And then we had sort of a completely different mindset come along, and some would call it an overcorrection, but I wouldn't. I'd say that it was fun for what those people wanted to do. A highly simplified, like just roll a die and boom, there it is, or very, very simplistic games that just get quick resolutions. Didn't quite give you the same sense of my character has some unique abilities, and that means, I feel special. It's more like, well, I'm just kind of here, we're rolling some dice, and it's fun. It's more just pure narrative, get into it with a couple of random rolls to kind of switch things up. Perfectly fine way to play. There's no bad fun, but not what I was looking for either. So for me, I was looking for that thing. I was looking to create something that was in the middle, something that had some satisfying crunch without being overburdened with simulations mechanics. And it was very easy for people to get into, but when they got into it, they could go, oh, but I can take these pieces and I can do some more things with them, and I can actually make very involved, elaborate characters if that's my style. And I can have powers that are like meaningfully interesting. But at the same time, it's just not that hard to figure out what's going on or how to play. I've taught brand new players who've never played any role-playing game before at all how to play this game, and they love it. And they've been asking me, when can we play again? And that's very satisfying. At the same time, I've got established long-time superhero gaming fans of decades experience saying this is their favorite superhero game ever. Again, very, very satisfying. The forward of defining moments. Yes. Okay. Let me get to that in a minute. The forward describes my story about how I was designing my own game, which was going to be giant handfuls of 6-sided dice. And it was literally called Handfuls of Dice. And then Savage Rifts came along, and I wasn't going to be able to spend any time on it, but I still wanted to do supers at the time. And then I discovered my friend's game that he'd actually sent me, and I had not paid attention to it, but I opened it up and I got into it, and I was like, oh, this is a better game than I was going to design anyway. And then we worked for 5 years to make it even better, because it's just that solid fun a game, and Len's a brilliant designer. Defining moments. Okay, all right, I'll get into. I'm literally going to go straight to the book for that one, though, because that one is worth just sort of a dramatic reading. And by the way, I'm going to polish both the knuckles and go, who's the one who came up with defining moments? This guy. Yeah, I'm very proud of that. Now, Len, helped me perfect it. He looked at it. We went back and forth. We argued. We fought. We laughed. We cried. We laughed and cried some more. We threw large rocks at each other, and then we had a really good defining moment. So let me just find that. Defining moments. Here we go. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and read this out loud for everybody so you guys know what this is, because this is a pretty special piece of this. And this kind of goes to some rules design ideas that I've had that some of you have been following my work for a while would recognize from, like, Savage Rifts, the concept of the Blades of Glory. And this is not the exact same thing, but the idea of a special way that the player can just invoke a time and a moment to do something mechanically and narratively important for them. So whether you're a solo act, part of a local team, or a member of an international league, there are times when everything rests on your shoulders. When that happens, you always have the option of declaring that as a defining moment. This does two things. First, any sixes you roll explode. They count as two successes. You get to roll those dice again to try fresher successes, and you can keep re-rolling them as long as you keep rolling sixes. And sometimes that can result in some ridiculous stuff. Second, every point of resolve you spend on that challenge roll earns you 3 extra dice instead of the usual 1 extra die. So resolve is the chips or tokens or whatever that you can have that represent, and if you were paying attention to the demo-ish thing I did, where TK spent a resolve to re-roll her dice, she could have also spent a resolve to add additional dice to the roll. So for example, you almost hit or you barely hit, but you didn't really do a whole lot of damage. So you've got a nice stack of resolve. You spend 3 of them to add 3 more dice to the result. So that's a thing that you can do with resolve. Now, in a defining moment situation, those 3 chips you spent would become plus 9 dice on your roll. So suddenly you are blowing the doors off. So despite the name, defining moments can last longer than an instant. For example, a hero with super strength might declare a defining moment when they need to hold up a collapsing building long enough for the civilians inside to escape, even though the building would normally be much too heavy to lift. So you might have, Colossus, trying to hold up something that's too much, but he's like, he's like straining and his arms are bulging. He's like tearing muscles inside his metal skin, but he's holding the building up because defining moment. Similarly, defining moment could involve attempting to defuse an impossibly complex alien bomb or negotiating a peace treaty between militant factions that have been at war for centuries. So it could be anything, right? You could be trying to make a charm roll between the factions of 2 alien societies, and you go defining moment and throw all it in so that you can say exactly the right thing to make that perfect impassioned speech. You can only declare 1 defining moment per story. Additionally, because these are instances where everything rests on you, only 1 hero can declare a defining moment per scene. Although heroes in different scenes, different locations, different times, whatever, can declare defining moments that just happen to occur at the same time. So if there was, a global disaster, and in 4 different zones, 4 of the heroes were, separately from each other, they could each do a defining moment that way. But if they're all in the same scene, only 1 of them can do the defining moment. Most importantly, defining moments can take their toll on you. Once a defining moment is over, you must permanently reduce one of your abilities by 1 die. If your defining moment involved a physical task, you have to reduce agility, might, or toughness. If it involved a mental task, you have to reduce intellect, perception, or willpower. Although the reduction is permanent, this doesn't prevent you from spending hero points to raise that ability in the future. So basically, you lose a hero point for doing a defining moment. And that's not a bad cost, but it's a meaningful cost. Putting these mechanical considerations aside, defining moments should be rare and special. You shouldn't expect to have one every issue or even every story. Heroes are constantly fighting the good fight, challenging villains, protecting civilians, and doing what they can to make the world a better place. None of that rises to the level of a defining moment. It's only when you find yourself in a situation that rests entirely on your shoulders, involves your allies or someone you love, or speaks directly to why you became a hero in the first place, and why your motivation keeps you doing it, that a defining moment is appropriate. There's an extra rule for one-shots. If you're playing a convention game or any one-shot game where you don't expect to use your hero again, the idea of reducing one of your abilities by 1 day doesn't mean very much. Accordingly, in one-shot games, defining moments are more debilitating. After you resolve your defining moment, your health drops to 0, and you will fall unconscious. You regain your wits at the end of the current scene, but suffer a -2 die penalty to all challenge rolls for the rest of the story. GMs may wish to allow heroes in ordinary games to choose this option rather than reducing one of their abilities by 1d, but that's entirely optional. So again, there's 2 different ways to have the defining moment have an impact. And yes, that is one of the really special things about this game. That's one of those extra details that really pulls this game out of just here's a raw set of mechanics to do superheroes. Here's a special and meaningful mechanic that really makes this game a step above and brings out something special about being superheroes. It's what gives you that moment where Steve Rogers at the end of Infinity War is holding Thanos' hand back, and Thanos is actually stopping and looking at him for a second. I mean, granted, at the end, it didn't matter as much narratively, but it just looked amazing, and you could totally make that a defining moment. Or alternatively, when he grabs the helicopter and he's keeping the helicopter from flying away, he's super strong, but he's not Thor or Hulk strong, so that was really much harder for him, and it completely changed the situation. Again, that could have been a defining moment. So those are 2 pretty cool cinematic examples. So I'm back over checking the Facebook to make sure they're not still doing horrible bunny things. Simple math, good way to teach math for kids. That's true. I have somebody who's played who math is not her strong suit. It's not her easiest thing, but she enjoys playing because it kind of stretches those muscles for her. Yes, Spider-Man Homecoming, where Spider-Man lifts an entire collapsed warehouse. That is another great defining moment. In fact, it's right out of the original Spider-Man comics, although different situation, but where he thought it was all going to be over, but he somehow manages to pull it out. That the moment in Spider-Man Homecoming where he lifts that thing up off of himself, that is absolutely a defining moment. Are there instances of predestined failure applicable to defining moments? Seduce, Wonder Woman, etc.? I don't. Let me see if I can parse that. That's really going to have to be a matter of the GM and the player discussing that. As a GM, if somebody were trying to do a defining moment to do something ridiculous that just really didn't fit the story and was going to kind of mess things up, I would call a halt and I would say, what you're asking to do here is not conducive to the setting or the story. I want to go ahead and say, I do not feel that is an appropriate use of defining moment. If I felt strongly that what they were doing was going to be damaging to the narrative. That's incredibly rare. Most of the time, I trust that the players are going to come up with something cool and meaningful. And if they do so, then a defining moment should apply. So seducing Wonder Woman. I don't see a player using a defining moment because it feels frivolous. And if it is frivolous, which in that case it would be, in my opinion, then it wouldn't be a defining moment and it wouldn't work. Right? Well, I want to seduce Wonder Woman because ha ha ha. No, that's basically you're trying to effectively control that character and make her be something she's not with your defining moment. That's icky and not cool. So I wouldn't allow it. That's just straight up. I'd say the defining moment doesn't work. Fortunately, I've not had to deal with that. I've had people use their defining moments to do really amazing, cool, fun stuff. Defining moments, so thematic for comic books. Yes, Nick, absolutely. Wow, I'm glad the defining moments is the thing that sold the game for you. That's cool. Yay, team. We're at 1:52, so 8 minutes left for this broadcast today. I'm actually going to be spending the rest of the day putting together some other stuff for the Kickstarter and doing some work on Modern Gods, because whether we get it unlocked during the Kickstarter or not, that book's got to get done, and it will be a setting book that we publish. Just may take longer to get it done, and I've got to really work on that. But let's do the numbers, as Kai Rizdal is fond of saying. We are currently at $17,329 and 247 backers. Now, I did say that there was a special unlock, a target goal unlock that could be one of two things. So if we can get to $18,000 or if we get to 250 backers, at that time, I will officially announce another unlocked PDF, an adventure to be written by a very dear friend of mine, a very well-known writer and designer in the games industry. He and I have worked together before. We've both done stuff for each other's products. He's brilliant in all kinds of different genres. I'm very excited about the possibility of announcing him. So we need 3 more backers. If we get 3 more backers during this broadcast, in the next 6 minutes, I can announce who that is. I can announce I don't have an adventure name yet because we still have to work all that out, but I can announce who's going to be doing a special adventure for Prowls and Paragons, and it will be one of the PDFs that people who got at the PDF level or higher will be able to get, like the $40 level, I think it is. So 3 more backers, even like 3 backers at $1, which is cheesy, but I'll allow it, or $18,000, which would be lots better, thanks, because we need to get those numbers moving, folks. We've got to get to 28. And right now we're not even at 18. So, yes, 15 days left. I'm pretty certain that we'll get there, but it'd be really nice to go ahead and get there now, because if we can get that momentum going again, get more excitement out there, people are going to look at the Kickstarter and go, oh, I want to get involved in this. It's weird because people want to back Kickstarters that are already successful, not realizing that if they go ahead and back, then they can help make it successful. It's a weird psychology thing, but it is what it is. So, oh, thank you, Gregory Scott James. I appreciate that. So anyway, we need 3 more backers in the next 5 minutes, or better yet, $18,000. I will point out, by the way, that we still have one of the Architect of the Universe pledges left. So that one is like a major one. And we still have 7 of the 10 super genius or evil mastermind levels left. So those are the big dollar ones. Those are the ones where you get to help build and put stuff into the game world. And so for those of you who, are really all in and want to be a huge part of this, we've got 3 people who have done that, which is awesome. We could, but we have some more slots left for there. And we have 1 slot available for whoever wants to pop in and go, boom, mic drop. I want to be an architect. You get to add 2 characters to the core book. You also include an adventure that will be designed and specifically tailored to the Heroes of Prowls and Paragons Ultimate Edition in premium quality hardcover format. This one with the alternate cover by Jerry Gaylord, who did the original book. So that's what you would get. And anybody who plays at that level, I would probably also say you get to have at least 1 character or something added to the Modern God setting as well. I mean, I'm just saying, somebody comes in and does something like that, I will probably let them play in my Modern Gods universe as well, in addition to getting to play with the P&PUE world. The Pinnacle City world, actually, because there's a Pinnacle City setting, which is the core setting that's endemic to the core P&PUE book, and the Pinnacle City's Most Wanted book. And then there's Modern Gods, which is a separate setting, but it's within the same omniverse, the omniverse concept. I think you guys have heard, a lot of you heard me talk about this before, but this is a meta concept. It interconnects multiple settings, not just officially published settings, but also settings published by you, people who want to use. We're going to set up a fan-oriented thing, which Drive-Thru RPG does, fan-created content, I think it's called. I'm actually looking up to be sure I'm saying this correctly. But there's a whole... And a lot of companies are doing this now. A lot of companies have gotten involved in this concept. I'm just waiting for the page to finish loading. Community content, that's what it's called. So we are going to have a community content program as soon as we get this stuff up and running and launched for regular retail release. And the community content program will be very similar to what Pinnacle Entertainment's doing. So we will definitely have it available for third-party publishers to do, but also for fans to create their own things and put it up. We'll try to get some resources out there to help you do that. And you'll be able to publish within the Omniverse concept. And therefore, it's like, here's my setting, or here's my group of villains that could be a group of villains in anybody's Omniverse setting. And they can cross over. And it's all considered more part of one giant shared gaming experience. And again, I'm all about the innovation. No one's ever done that. No one's ever done quite that kind of thing, where it's not just that it's open for you to create content, but it's open for you to create content that you can treat as canonical within the meta construct of the Omniverse. So I've created this thing, and it's officially now part of the Omniverse. And so people can play that these characters or that faction ends up in the Modern God setting, or, it goes into the Modern God setting, but then, whatever crisis it creates spills out into Pinnacle City. And then maybe characters from the Blood and Justice Nocturne, Shadows of Nocturne setting will also team up. And, so you get to create stuff and make stuff to play with, and you could grab all these things and say, this is all part of my campaign because it's all Omniverse. Again, I don't think anybody's ever done that. Scott Carm and me and a few others worked on this idea some time ago. We were doing it for like a more meta thing that would connect all game systems and settings potentially. That was a bit too ambitious, but I never gave up on the idea. And Scott came up with really, really great concepts. So I really want us to bring that back alive within this contained concept that we have a little bit more control over. But again, it's superheroes, so anything's possible. So some grand, gigantic, super fantasy thing where they carry swords bigger than themselves and, summon the monsters that hang out for a few seconds and destroy everything. Final Fantasy, that could totally be a superhero setting that's part of the Omniverse. So that's the kind of thing that we're putting together. We've got 1 minute left. So this was fun. It wasn't exactly what I was hoping to do. Like I said, I was hoping to get players on to actually play. And I'm hoping that for the next one that we will have that. We are still at 17, 329, and 247 backers. So we did not hit that reveal yet. So we'll have to hope that happens sometime later today. And when it does, I'll just put it on a general announcement. Real quick, even though we've hit the time, but I'm going to go ahead and remind everyone and I've scheduled all of these. These are scheduled and ready to go. The next of these, the next official broadcast in which we will do specifically a demo will be March 26th, which is Tuesday, next Tuesday, 4 p.m. MST, 6 p.m. EST, 3 p.m. PST. The next one will be March 29th, which is that following Friday, 5 o'clock Mountain Time. Then March 31st, Sunday, 3 o'clock Mountain Time. April 2nd, which is a Tuesday, 5 o'clock Mountain. April 4th, which is a Thursday, 7 o'clock Mountain Time. And then the last one will be April 6th, which is that Saturday, 10 a.m. Mountain, noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. That will be the very last one. After that will be Monday, starting at 10 a.m. Mountain, noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, will be the beginning of the 24-hour epic countdown, the last 24 hours of the Kickstarter, which I'll be broadcasting live the entire time for you guys to join in, watch me be completely goofy and crazy. We'll do contests, we'll have fun, we'll make up new stuff. We'll go for the big push to see where we are with the Kickstarter at that point. Who knows what kind of crazy free stuff I'll be giving away or other insane stuff I'll do. So you'll want to set some time aside for that as well, because it's always been a party. Shintar, we did it for Freedom Squadron, and we're going to do it for this one. All right, folks, thank you very much for joining us. I hope that even though this wasn't the normal, what I originally scheduled, I hope that it was still fun and enjoyable. We had 14, 15 people hanging out with us on this thing. We had a number of people watching over there on Facebook, which I'm grateful for. But I'm going to call it there. I don't know if I'm going to do another live today. If I do, it's going to be very spontaneous. But otherwise, I think I'm just going to focus on getting some work done and getting some announcements out there. I truly, truly do appreciate everyone's support. And again, I will encourage you to please share the Kickstarter, share the freebie rules, make sure people get those rules and see them. Make sure people know about the schedule for future demos. And if you looked at this and said, this would be fun, go ahead, get a camera set up, get a microphone set up, go to that link on the Facebook page that says, so you can see which ones you want to schedule for, or drop me a line directly, spf@evilbeaglegames.com, or hit me up on Facebook, or however. I'm incredibly easy to find one way or another, and let me know when you would like to join in place. We can get you set up so you can be a part of an actual demo with me next time that we do this. All right, folks, that's going to be it. I'm now going to say, as I usually say, peace out, and the world needs heroes.